In this video, you're gonna learn about what's a function block, what's a function, the difference between function block and function, single instance, multi-instance, and data blocks. Let's get started. You open the program blocks, the main OB is always existing there. Then we have add new block here, double click here, and in the pop-up window you have the options of choosing if you need organization blocks, function blocks, FB shortly, or FC, functions, or data blocks. Let's go and choose function block. Here you can choose the language, which language you want. In our case, let's just do ladder logic. And here you can name it. Let's just name it test FB. Press OK. So we have a test FB. Let's go and create a function. Also ladder logic. Let's do test FC. So you see this one is blue, this one is green. Let's go into test function block. In the interfaces, let's use the structure here. Instead of just connecting tags here, we can do something else. Like for example, here you have the interface. You can use this one to have a more structured program. In our case, let's just for the input give the name of button, for example. And in the output, let's say LED. We will make a small logic, normally open, output. What we do is like we create a small logic. When you press the button, the light turns on. You can just drag and drop, or you can also write LED. So we just made a basic logic here. Let's go do the same inside the FC. We'll make in the input button, and the output we make LED. Yeah, I will write button, LED. And then let's go call them inside the main OB to see what's gonna happen. So how do you call it? Whatever logic you have in your program, you always have to call it inside the main OB, because all the logic for the PLC is running only inside the main OB, right? If you don't call them inside main OB, they will not be executed. So let's go and call it. You open the main OB, and then basically you just drag and drop. And for the FB, when you drag and drop it, you see that you have a pop-up window where it will create a single instance. And then let's go and press OK and see what happens. When you call function block, it will create an instance data block for it. We will go into data blocks shortly, but let's go and call FC as well. Let's drag and drop the FC. You see, no pop-up window and nothing is created. So this is the main difference between FB and FC. The FB has its own memory, which is the data block here. FC does not have a memory. When do you use the FC? For example, if inside your logic you want to calculate something quickly, like the speed, for example, and you don't need a memory, you use FC, you use functions. If you need to know a state and you need to save something in the memory, then you use function blocks. Also, another difference, you see that in the function block, in the button is false, false, but in the function you have to connect something, otherwise it will be in error state. It gives you error. Why? Why is this? Let's go inside the function block. You can open from here or double click here. You see in the button, you have a default value. And if I split my screen with the FC, open the interface, you don't have a default value in FC. And also the difference is that in the FB, you see here we have a static where you can save some memory, but in the FC, we don't have static, right? This is the main difference between FB and FC. And another thing is single instances and multi-instances. And what are they? They are also really important in programming. Let's go and demonstrate them. What I mean, let's create another block. Let's call it like motor FB, for example. Motor FB. Let's make it function block, ladder logic. Let's create it. Let's make a small logic inside. Let's say start for the input, and for the output, let's say motor on. Let's use the start here, the motor on here. And for the static, let's just say motor running. And also, if I open this function block, what we did for the test FB, if I open it, if I split my screen and you see it, you will see the structure is also input, output, you will have the in-out, and you will have the static. You will not have the temp and constants here. So this is the data block, and it stores everything from this structure. So we created a motor FB, and now let's go and call this motor FB inside our test FB and see what is gonna happen. This is also really interesting. So I will call my motor FB. You will have this pop-up window with the options single instance and multi-instance. What are they? Let's go and make a single instance. Motor, let's say single. We create a single instance, and let me call it again and use multi-instance in this case. Motor multi. And when I press OK, you see that it does not create another data block for this one. Why? Because the multi-instance is stored inside the static, inside this FB, which is the test FB. So what is the use case of single and multi-instance? In this case, for example, let's say you have 10 motors and you have a motor FB where you write the logic for the motors, and you want to call this FB for all the motors. Like you have 10 motors and you need it for all the motors. And if you use a single instance, you will have 10 times this DB. You will have 10 of these data blocks. But you don't want that because it's too much. You don't need that. Instead, you will call the multi-instances and it will be more in structured way. Let's go and say we have two motors. We call two motors here, like we choose multi-instance and we say motor 1, and we call it again multi-instance and we say motor 2. And in the interface, if you open it under the static, you will see, okay, motor 1, motor 2. And if you open it, you will see this structure, what we created inside the motor FB. If I open motor FB, you have this structure. Also, for example, the static is motor running. Here is also, if you open motor, you will see motor running, right? This is in more organized way. If you have many motors and many devices, you just use multi-instance. And let's see, for example, inside the test FB, we already have the structure is a little bit different, and this data block for it will be also a little bit different, and it should show, yes, it shows that it's different. So for that, we have to compile it. You can just press here, compile it. You will see it will change now. Under the static, yes, you see the motor multi, the motor 1, motor 2. And these errors are because of we have to give the inputs. And how do you connect them? For the PLC text, I just created push button and light, and then you can just split it. For the button, push button. For the light, for example, push button and light. And here you see, as I explained, the data block. The data block is for this test FB, and everything inside test FB is stored here. If you open the motor, you will see this structure. I know it's a little bit confusing, but if you do some small programs, you'll understand them better. So this is the data block, and another thing is the global data block. Let's also explain that quickly, and you will know all the differences. For the global data blocks, you just add new device, and here you have a data block, which is the global data block. You see here, and let's say we just name it global DB, and we say OK. And what this global data block is, it's also a memory container. You can access it from any function block. Like for example, let's say test for global DB, for example. You can access this one from anywhere. For example, let's say we create another network here. Let's say here we use the LED or light, and here for the input, just as a test, you can use this one. This is from the global data block. So the global data block, you use it for the whole function blocks. Because you can access it from anywhere, right? So this was it for today. What's the most confusing part for you? Instance DBs or multi-instances? You can write down your thoughts in comments below. Thanks for watching.